All right, 6:56, time for the final exam, part two. Remember part one, do the multiple choice part that's posted on Canvas. I don't expect any of you to struggle with that part. And I really want you to spend some time on this part. So this reflects the remote delivery aspect of the course and how we've been communicating this semester, which is remotely via YouTube and the lectures and Zoom, obviously. So we're going to do the same thing for your final exam. You're not going to turn in any written material. You're only going to turn in either one or three YouTube links. And I say one or three because if you want to combine them all into one link, that's fine. Or just send me three links and you'll be one for each question. And I'll go through that in just a second. All right, so the purpose of this portion of the examination is to evaluate your knowledge of critical biomechanical concepts. You are responsible for providing succinct answers in video format that clearly demonstrate your level of knowledge in the area. Sorry. The take-home format is used to allow you the opportunity to spend appropriate time on each question. You're allowed to use textbooks, journals, and other published material in preparation for your answers. You are not allowed to collaborate in any manner with any class member, faculty, or any other living, breathing being in preparation for your answer. You cannot use any copyright material. For example, don't use any videos that are already out there, or be careful with images as well. You should create unique content. You are allowed to ask me questions. Just be sure when you email me to put 656 in your subject heading so I can catch it. I easily get 100 emails a day. When you're done, email me your YouTube links by not 5/15/21, by the end of finals week, which is, let me quickly get the date in and correct out. That's the 14th. So by 5/14/21, okay? Include 656 final in the subject header. The final will be followed remote nature course. As such, you'll submit a YouTube link. And again, for each answer, or if you combine them, that's fine. Don't go to depths to try to figure out how to combine them. If you don't know how to, just send me 3 links. Make sure that they're unlisted. Don't set them to private. There's no time limit. So this is good and bad. However, the evaluation of your answer will be partly based on your use of time. If you send me an hour-long presentation, I will grade you partly on the use of that hour, okay? So be succinct and clear and to the point. I'm guessing your answers will be probably anywhere between 5 and 20 minutes. 20 minutes would be the high end. I don't think you need 20 minutes for any of this, okay? Do not use copyright videos or pictures in your answers. I did that already. You can reproduce data from a manuscript to create a figure. If you include any text that mentions a reference, always use APA format when you're doing something like in PowerPoint, or if you have a Word document. You don't have to use APA format if you just mention the reference. But if you're going through some material on a PowerPoint or a document, and you refer to the published paper, that's where you need to show the reference. Suggestions provide evidence that you understand critical biomechanical concepts. That's what I'm looking for, okay? That's what I'm watching your videos, and that's what I'm listening for, is using biomechanical concepts correctly and setting up problems correctly, all that, okay? So suggestions, you may want to set up a kinetic analysis where appropriate, and you'll see which questions it may be appropriate. Define terminology as you bring it up. That's always an easy way for me to check. Oh, they used the term force. Oh, and they defined the term force. Oh, I get that they understand, or they know that term. Okay, that makes it easy for me. Cite sources if appropriate. And you'll see one question where sources probably will come into play. Use the terminology correctly, okay? Present well thought out, I gotta work on my grammar here, well thought out answers that are supported by empirical evidence where appropriate, okay? So let's look at the questions. 10 points for question 1, and you get to choose. Answer one of the following 4 questions. Explain drag force and factors that influence this force during swimming. Okay. Explain why it is harder to bike uphill due to slope force and what factors influence slope force. Explain ground reaction force and how a runner's horizontal velocity changes during the stance phase of gait. Notice horizontal, not vertical. We derive the equation below regarding cycling gears. Describe the process of deriving this equation. So these are obviously mechanical questions, okay? So the biomechanics, this is focused on the mechanics part. This is where starting with a kinetic analysis would likely help you, okay? And be sure to explain any forces or equations that you're using in here. I don't see you using any references for these, for any of these answers. All right, and choose one of these, okay? Part 2. Second question, answer one of the following 3 questions. Explain the similarities and differences in rate of oxygen consumption and energetic cost of locomotion for running. Explain joint powers of the lower extremity during cycling or running. Explain the observation that a wetsuit will likely benefit slow swimmers more so than fast swimmers. This is a section where I would strongly expect to see you pull in references, okay? No textbooks, okay? When you use a reference, make sure it's a primary source, no secondary sources even, okay? Primary source, peer-reviewed manuscripts. Even if you want to present an example of, in this case, joint powers, that would be where you go find a reference to illustrate that, okay? And then illustrate it and then include the citation. All right, 10 points. You have to answer this question. There are many examples of athletes collapsing in the last portion of the marathon segment of an Ironman. I should have used iron distance, but in these videos, they're all Ironman races. So provide a biomechanics perspective as to possible mechanisms, or could be a possible mechanism, explaining the collapse. The key here is it has to be a biomechanics perspective, okay? It has to be a biomechanics perspective. So I've given you some videos. You don't have to refer to any of the videos. These are just examples. If you just Google, or if you do a YouTube search on Ironman collapse, you'll get lots of different videos because it does happen. And it happens, one of these is an age group racer and the other 3 are all professional athletes, men and women. It happens, it happens, it happens. So from a biomechanics perspective, what would be a mechanism explaining this? Okay, you have to answer this one. This would be a question that I would expect to see references as well, okay? All right, so if you have questions, contact me, but hopefully going through this will help. Remember, you need to do part 1, that's the Canvas portion, and then this is part 2. Choose one of these 4 questions, one of these 3 questions, and then answer this one as well. Send me 3 YouTube links, unless you want to combine them into one, okay? I think that's it. What usually happens, if I do get some questions from students, what I'll do is often post more material so that you're all exposed to the same information. So keep that in mind. Keep watching Canvas in case additional information is posted, further clarifying anything. Okay, thanks and enjoy.